It's often the case, isn't it, that we follow in the footsteps of our parents. The older I become, the more I recognise that I am like my parents in various ways, for good or for ill. I guess traditionally people have done, haven't they, the same occupation as their parents often. And I'm sure that all of us, the older we get, the more we see of our parents and ourselves, both in terms of their strengths and weaknesses, their sins perhaps, but also their skills and abilities and things that they were particularly good at. And there's many good things about following our parents in many ways, aren't there? Especially where they've set a good example to us to follow. I'm sure that it's God's design that he puts us in families with parents who can sometimes set us a very good example to follow. And parents who can help us if we decide that we are going to set off in the same course of life of them. Maybe they can help us get into the line of work or whatever that they were in themselves. They have those connections, that understanding of that world. Sometimes, of course, our parents have not set us a good example at all, have they? And we're determined that actually we're going to do things very differently from them, that we want to live very differently. But often, in either case, whether our parents have set us a good example or a terrible example, or a mixed example, which is probably the case for most of us, it can be daunting, can't it, to do things differently from the way that our parents have done. And it seems perhaps in this passage that Jacob is a little bit daunted about doing something that his father Isaac never did. Isaac never went to Egypt, the sort of superpower of the day. And so God reassures him in these verses that he is the same God who is the God of his father. Yes, what God is choosing for him is to go to Egypt, whereas for his father Isaac, that wasn't what God had chosen for him. But he is still the same God who is Lord over them both and over their futures. The particular way that Jacob is going to serve God with his life is actually going to look very different from the way in which Isaac, his father, was to serve him. And yet, the fundamentals are the same. He's the same God. The same unchanging, faithful, and loving God, powerful and holy.